Welcome, CanHammer fans, to read along of the new Death Guard Codex. This has been very long anticipated by Death Guard fans, and especially since Death Guard was announced as one of the released factions in the new Dark Imperium starter set. So clearly it must have meant that Death Guard was going to get its own codex. So people who are Death Guard and or Nurgle fans were quite happy, and people have been waiting for this. And then of course the rumor was that with Death Guard Codex was going to come the next Primarch, which was Mortarion, and indeed here he is, and what a model he is. A little bit pricey, GW, $170, but you know, it's a great model. Yeah, and posable too, so just amazing model. Now I'll have two of these guys, and unfortunately for me, you're not going to see me building Mortarion because I have no interest in Mortarion. One of these is for Logan, and one of these is to give away later this week. So by the time you're watching this video, you've probably already missed a chance to enter our 5,000 YouTube subscriber giveaway, where we were giving away Mortarion and a Codex. So stay tuned for that if you did enter that. But right now we're going to focus on the Codex. I myself, fluff-wise, have never been a fan of the Death Guard. Probably chaos-wise, I'm a biggest fan of either Alpha Legion or Emperor's Children, but I've never been a big fan of the whole Death Guard or Nurgle thing or Mortarion. He's definitely not one of my favorite Primarchs. So I am not playing Death Guard. I sold my Death Guard half of the box ages ago, but I'm going to give you this read-along here and my opinions on the Death Guard. Now, a lot of this has been leaked already, so some of this is not completely clean, but this is the first time I've opened this book. So let's go. First of all, about the artwork. It's okay. The new kind of style Nurgle seems a little bit overwrought, in my opinion. It's very Nurgly, but like a lot of extra embellishment on all the models, and not my cup of tea. I like it a little bit more subtle than that, but I can see how it's extremely cool for fans of Nurgle and Death Guard, and certainly adds a lot of detail to the models. Special hello from Reggie the Chaos Cat. Hey Reggie, do you like Death Guard? Are you a fan of Death Guard? Maybe? Maybe not? No? You're just a fan of chaos in general. You like to cause chaos. Okay, get out of here, Reggie. Okay, let's go. So as usual, we're going to skip all the fluff, but do have a read if you have this book, because it's got amazing new artwork and probably some pretty good fluff. It does go through the old school Death Guard and the Plague Planet. A lot of good stuff here, so do read it if you are a fan. We're gonna skip along here. So the book itself is not that long. It's probably let's see, it's just over 100 pages long, so it's not that thick. It is hardcover, of course, like all the other ones. So probably we're talking 60 pages of fluff at least, I would say. Let's skip ahead here. Lots of nice pictures of the new models, so you can check it out. What we're going to try and do is just focus on the new models and the stuff that's not in the index, and any updates that may have been had from the Chaos Index. Okay, so here we are onto the rules. So first of all, they get Death to the False Emperor, which all the Heretic Astartes legions get. This of course allows you to make an extra attack in the fight phase if you're targeting an Imperium unit, if you roll 6 on your hit roll. Then they have Disgustingly Resilient, which is the rule that Nurgle and Death Guard have gotten inherited over from Age of Sigmar, and this gives you a 5+ Feel No Pain, and that is very strong. Any kind of Feel No Pain in a game where You have things like Mortal Wounds is strong, and to have a 5+, I know what that's like, having recently played Death before it got nerfed, and so 5+ Feel No Pain is very strong. What's here? Oh, it's Reggie again. Okay, then they have new rules. Lots of Death Guard things have plague weapons, so plague swords and plague whatevers. And the plague weapon means you can reroll wound rolls of 1, which is very strong for most of the units in this codex to have an automatic reroll wounds of 1 without needing to bring an HQ or being range of anything. That's good. And demonic ritual. So this is just like the normal demonic ritual rule in the rulebook. So Death Guard characters can summon Nurgle demons, 3 dice, blah blah blah. I think it's exactly the same. Yep, D3 mortal wounds if you roll triple. So they can summon Nurgle stuff. Obviously, in terms of the war gear list, they have all the combi weapons, melee weapons wise. They have the usual stuff, and Terminator melee weapons. The additional weapons here that are not in the index are the Bile swords for melee and Terminator melee. So we'll see what those are in a second. Alright, so here we have the Demon Prince of Nurgle. This Demon Prince is exactly the same as the Demon Prince in the index. It still has the ability to take wings and to fly. And yeah, it's exactly the same. The stats are exactly the same, and the weapon options are exactly the same. It did go down 2 power. A lot of things in their codex went down in power. So it went down from 10 to 8. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Now, let's move on to Typhus. So here's Typhus. Typhus, of course, got a new model, I believe. I'm trying to find a picture of him here. Let's see. Typhus the Heraldbringer 2. Yeah, so the new Typhus is here. I don't think he's been released yet to buy, probably next week. Cool update, I like it. Certainly better than the old Typhus. Very in keeping with the new kind of nurgliness of things. And so Typhus is a decent character. He only moves 4. 2+2+, toughness 5, 6 wounds, 4 attacks, 2+ save. So because he's wearing Terminator armor. And he carries the Destroyer Hive, which is a pistol. He carries his Man Reaper and Blight grenades. So I believe that grenades play a significant part of this codex. So it's kind of a theme for Death Guard to have grenades, and they have Phosphex grenades and Blight grenades. So his weapons are pretty good. And so he's a bit of a beat stick there, and of course he has these Blight grenades, which are just strength 3, d6 strength 3 grenades with the plague weapon rule. He hits at strength 7 at -3 and does straight 3 damage with reroll 1s to wounds, so he's doing pretty good in damage. Of course he's a psyker, and most importantly I guess is he's a buffing unit, so he gives all poxwalkers around him +1 strength and toughness, which is really good. And he has this kind of aura that does mortal wounds. Of course he's a Terminator, he can teleport strike, and he has cataphractic armor, so he has a 4+ invuln, but he advances half of what you roll, so he ain't moving very fast, but he's a pretty strong character. Here's the Lord of Contagion. And the Lord of Contagion is unchanged from the index, except that he can also take a Man Reaper instead of his Plague Reaper, and that just gives you extra strength and a d3 damage instead of straight 3. So there you go. He's otherwise unchanged from the index. He lost 2 power, so he's down 7 power from 9. We got your Chaos Lord. You have him take a Chaos Lord in Terminator armor. You got your Sorcerer and your Sorcerer in Terminator armor. So just like the Space Marine Codex and the other codexes so far, they're eliminating things which you have to convert, so that if don't have models you can straight out buy. And so no more Chaos Lords on bikes or Sorcerers on bikes. And I believe the Palanquin is also gone. Yeah, no more Lord or Sorcerer on Nurgle Palanquin. So those are units that are gone from the Codex. Of course, as usual, you can still take them from the Index, but you probably will break up your Nurgle theme. So let's keep going. So we have the Malignant Plaguecaster here. And then Plague Marines. And Plague Marines are basically the same stat-wise. They did gain 2 new rules. One is the Icon of Despair, which says that any units that are within 6 inches of any enemy units with an Icon of Despair must subtract 1 from their leadership. So it's a leadership debuff, which is fine. And this Vectors of Death and Disease, a Plague Marine armed with 2 Plague Knives, a Plague Knife, and a Bubonic Axe, or a Mace of Contagion and a Bubonic Axe, has an attack characteristic of 2 instead of 1, which is cool. Cultists and Poxwalkers. So Poxwalkers seem to be the new hotness for Death Guard. I see many of my colleagues starting to build their great masses of Poxwalkers. We're just going to see if they changed at all. So the old Poxwalkers are the same as they are in the Index, and they're pretty hard to kill. They have disgustingly resilient. Of course, if they kill somebody, they regenerate a model. They're kind of like zombies in AOS, and they add +1 hit roll if they have 10 or more models. So most importantly, though, is around they can be buffed. So Typhus gives them +1 strength, so strength 4 and toughness 4, which automatically makes them much harder to kill. And I guess we're going to come across some more stuff that makes Poxwalkers hard to kill. They don't move fast, of course, only 4-inch move. But if you run a lot of them, you don't need to move quickly. So that's the Poxwalkers. Plague Bearers, and of course they're troops is the other thing to say, so to fill up all your battalions. Plague Bearers are the same. Of course, now you can take these basic lesser demons within your Heretic Astartes detachments, although it doesn't have the Heretic Astartes keyword. But you can definitely summon them, and they're about the same. They've lost 1 power on their power level, but otherwise have the same rules, and as do Nurglings. Here's some more data sheets. Noxious Blightbringer, and the Foul Blightspawn, which I believe is new. Yes, indeed, the Foul Blightspawn is a new model that is yet to be released, but here it is. It looks pretty cool. Okay, so Foul Blightspawn is an elite. 3+3+4, 5, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, 3+ save. He has the Plague Sprayer and Blight Grenades. So the Plague Sprayer is Assault D6. Assault D6 with a 9-inch range, so it's kind of like a flamer with a 9-inch range. 2d6 strength, and -3 AP, 3 damage. Wow, that looks decent. Well, it could be pretty crappy too if you roll like 2 on your strength, but still, automatically hits, and determine the strength of this weapon after selecting the target, but before determining how many shots. Okay, I guess that doesn't really matter. So yeah, it's a strength 2d6 9-inch flamer with -3 and 3 damage. He's got disgustingly resilient and unholy Death's Head. Each time the Foul Blightspawn carries a single unholy Death's Head grenade. Once per battle, or a Blightspawn or another friendly Death Guard character within 3 inches of him. Oh, so he kind of gives it to the other character. Here, have this grenade. Can throw an unholy Death's Head grenade instead of a Blight grenade or a Hyper Blight grenade. When they do so, change the weapon's type to grenade 2d6. Oh, okay, so just an extra strong Blight grenade that does 2d6 instead of d6, but otherwise is still strength 3 -1 plague weapon. Okay, Revolting Stench. Enemy units that charge this turn and are within 7 inches of this model are struck by a stench so foul that they falter, losing their impetus. Such a unit does not get to fight first in the fight phase, but can be chosen to fight like other units that did not charge. This ability also affects units who have abilities that would enable them to fight first as if they had charged. That's a very funny and thematic ability. And of course, you'll notice everything in this codex is 7 inches. All the auras and the ranges and everything 7 inches, because of course 7 is the magic number of Nurgle. So okay, that's an interesting ability. There's the Foul Blight spawn. Now we got the Biologus Putrefier. Let's see if we can find a picture of this guy. If you can remember who all these people are and which models they are, I will say you're doing pretty good. Because if you look at these models, they all look pretty similar to me, but they're all different guys. This is the Biologus Putrefier. Here he is. He's kind of got some kind of like an injection gun. He's got like heads and vials hanging off his backpack there. Pretty cool model. So the Biologus Putrefier is another character who is 3+3+, toughness 5, 4 wounds. So the usual stat line has an injector pistol. So it's a 3-inch range pistol 1, strength 4, AP -1, D6 damage, plague weapon. Which is cool. Weapons damage changes to 1 when attacking vehicles. Okay, so this is designed to inject crap into infantry. Then he has a plague knife, and plague knife is basically the Nurgle version of the chainsword. So just strength user, 1 damage, plague weapon, and +1 attack, of course. And then hyper blight grenade is a strength 4, 2 damage, D6 grenade that it can inflict a mortal wound on a 6+ to wound. So that's pretty decent for a grenade. And his rules, so he has pestilential explosion. I don't know who comes up with these names. I don't think that's a word, pestilential. Anyway, pestilential explosion. If this model is reduced to 0 wounds, so he explodes. So he's an infantry guy who, I guess he's full of fluid and vials and stuff, so if you kill him he explodes on a 4+, and everyone within 7 inches suffers 1 mortal wound unless it's Nurgle. And then has Blight Racks, so increase the strength and damage characteristics of all Blight grenades carried by Death Guard units by 1 while they're within 3 inches of the Putrefier. In addition, whilst the unit is within 3 inches of this model, each wound roll of 6+ made when attacking with a Blight grenade inflicts a mortal wound in addition to any other damage, which it already does, because the hyper blight grenade inflicts 6+. Or do they just mean the ones that say blight grenade, not hyper blight grenade? I think they just mean the one that says blight grenade. It's not like a generic term, because here they specify that it's blight grenade or hyper blight grenade. So I guess this is just referring to the blight grenades that don't do mortal wounds, so it adds that to them and gives you an extra strength and damage. So it makes them strength 4, 2 damage. So it turns them into hyper blight grenades, basically. Okay, so yeah, so that's what it does. It turns everybody's blight grenades into hyper blight grenades. That's decent. If you're going to invest a lot into this grenade business, you're definitely going to be running a bunch of these guys. Plague Surgeon. So the Plague Surgeon, I believe, is kind of like the Apothecary now. Let's find the Plague Surgeon here. Here he is. So the Plague Surgeon is this duder. Yeah, he's the Apothecary. He's got a little drill there and a little monitor thing and a face. He actually has a face. So that's pretty cool. Of course, all these models are still to come. They've not been released yet. So Plague Surgeon, same stat line as normal. The Bale Sword is a strength user, -3 AP, 1 damage weapon. Of course, rerolling 1s to wound. Pretty good. It's like I guess it's like a power sword, except it only does 1 damage. Tainted Narthecium. So the Tainted Narthecium, instead of letting you heal or res people, allows you to reroll disgustingly resilient rolls of 1 within 3 inches of this model. So that's decent. And Gene Seed Thief. Add 1 to all hit and wound rolls made for this model in a fight phase when targeting Adeptus Astartes. Infantry or bikers. Okay, that's alright. You probably don't want to really be getting this guy into combat. He's just there to buff your disgustingly resilient. So of course it does buff your Poxwalkers that are infantry and Death Guard, so they now become that much harder to kill with a Plague Surgeon around. And the Tallyman. So Nurgle is all about counting and tallies, And here's your Tallyman. Pretty funny. So there's this guy with an abacus and like a little book on which he's writing stuff, and he's got a nurgling beside him that's carrying a bunch of scrolls. It's a pretty, and he's standing on some books. It's a pretty cool model. I like it. So the Tallyman is a elite, same typical stat line for Nurgle characters. He just has plasma pistol and some grenades, and he does Festering Zealot. So reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase within 7 inches. So it's like a chaplain there. And then he has a 7-fold chant. If your army is battle forged and you have any Tallymen on the battlefield, roll 2d6 each time you spend a command point to use a Death Guard stratagem. If the result is 7, Nurgle bestows his blessing upon you, and the command points spent are immediately refunded. Alright, that's decent. The chances of rolling 7 are high. It's the most common number you're going to roll on 2d6, according to Vegas rules. And so that's decent, and you get your command points back. And even if you spent like a 3-point stratagem and you re-roll one of them with a command point, that's still worth a 2-point command point refund. So overall, you're still netting it. So that's pretty good. And I believe he's pretty cheap. When we go over the points, we'll look at that. But I believe he's a pretty cheap guy just to stick in a building somewhere where he won't be killed, just for this ability. Of course, you could use him for his chaplain ability too. Yeah. Okay, Death Shroud Terminators are new. These are like Mortarion's bodyguards, basically, the Death Shroud Terminators. Let me see if I can find a picture of these guys. Death Shroud Terminators. Here we go. So these guys are like Mortarion's bodyguard, big Terminator dudes with big scythes, Man Reapers. So here they are. This guy's even got some bells there for you, bells and whistles on these guys. So pretty crazy models. Let's see what they do. So these guys are power 11. They are Terminator stats, except they have strength 5 and toughness 5, 2 wounds each, 3 attacks, and 2+ save. They only move 4, of course, and then you have the champion. So you can have 3 of them, and they're armed with a Man Reaper and a Plague Spurt Gauntlet. So the Plague Spurt Gauntlet is a D6 6-inch range pistol, strength 3 and 1 damage plague weapon, and automatically hits. So it's like a little, it's a 6-inch flamer, pistol flamer. That's okay. And the Man Reaper, of course, is usual strength +3, -3 AP, D3 damage plague weapon. And the Death Shroud Champion can take a second Plague Spurt Gauntlet. It doesn't say replaces anything, so I guess you can just take 2. So rules wise, they have Cataphractic armor, which makes them stronger but slower. Eyes of Mortarion. Death Guard characters, excluding Mortarion, within 3 inches of any Death Shroud Terminator units, add 1 to their attacks. That's pretty good, but it just affects characters, and not Mortarion. So. And Silent Bodyguard. Roll a dice each time a friendly Death Guard character is hit by a ranged or melee weapon whilst he is within 3 inches of this unit. On a 2+1 of the Death Shroud intercepts that hit. That character is not hit by the attack, but this unit is instead. Okay, so this is its bodyguard rule, but it's every time it's hit, not after it's taken the wound. So that's a little bit better. Because if you run this guy beside Mortarion and it's hard to stick a wound to Mortarion, then you can pass it off on a 2+. That makes it really strong. But at least this way you have to decide when you get hit to pass it off or not. And then these guys can deep strike because they're Terminators. So they're okay. I don't think Mortarion really needs bodyguards, to be honest, as we're going to see soon. But if you wanted to, here you go. Interesting to see what the points are for these guys, but they're probably going to be expensive, so maybe not that useful. Then you have Blight Lord Terminators, and of course these are all new Terminator models. Yeah, so here are your kind of a few of your Blight Lord Terminators, just your basic kind of Death Guard Terminators. They are better than normal Terminators. They have 2 extra toughness and 2 wounds each. and they're probably going to be appropriately priced. Yeah, now let's have a look at some of these. So the Blight launcher, of course, is from the Index. It's still good. It's a Assault 2, 24-inch, Strength 6, -2, D3 damage weapon, which is excellent. Plague weapon as well. Then we have the Plague Spearer, which of course is the 9-inch flamer, heavy flamer basically for 9 inches, which is great. That extra inch means when you deep strike, you can hit with it. Oh no, you have to deep strike more than 9 inches away, so nope, you can't do that. They can get the Reaper autocannon, Bale sword, so the Bubotic axe is basically strength +1, -2 AP and 1 damage, versus the sword, which is strength user, -3 AP and 1 damage. So, and then the Flail of Corruption. So they have stolen this from the Dark Angels. So the Flail of Corruption is a strength 2 +2, -2, 2 damage, which is pretty good. And then they make D3 hit rolls for every attack instead of just 1, so that's pretty good. So an average one of these is making 2d3 attacks, and then excess damage rolls over, just like the flail that the Deathwing Knights can take. So that's pretty good. I think the Deathwing Flail does more damage, but this makes more attacks. So there you go. So that's pretty good. How many of these can you take? For every 5 models, you can take a Flail of Corruption. Okay, so they have Teleport Strike, they have Cataphractii Armor, and they have the Aura of Rust. Every time you make a wound roll of 6+, increase the AP by 1. Okay, that's pretty cool. So it's interesting, all the Terminators are Cataphractii, just to add to the fact that they're stronger and harder to kill, but slower. So very, very Nurgle. Alright, there's the Hellboot. There's Beasts of Nurgle. And Possessed. The Footed Bloat Drone, yeah. These guys are so strong. I hate playing against these guys. They move fast. They do have a degrading profile. They have 10 wounds, and they have good strength. And their Plague Spitter is so strong, 9-inch Assault D6, heavy flamer basically. And then they have the heavy Blight launcher now, which is Assault 6 at 36-inch range, 6 -2 D3 Plague. And now they have this new thing, the Flesh Mower, which is a melee weapon which gives them strength +2, so strength goes up to 8 at full power, -2, 2 damage, and it makes 6 additional attacks with this weapon on top of its normal attacks. And then it has the Probe. So yeah, these guys are strong, and of course they fly, and they have the Flamer weapon, so yeah, these guys are a real pain in the ass. They also explode on a 4+, So, Bloat Drone's still good. Mephitic Blight Hauler is this new these things, I think. Yeah, I think the Mephitic Blight Haulers are these dudes here. These kind of artillery looking things. No. Mephitic Blight Haulers, I can't find a picture of them. They're not those guys. So the Mephitic Blight Haulers are fast attack. They move 10 inches, which is fast for Nurgle. They have this Assault D3 12-inch range spurt weapon, strength 6 -1, 1. They can have a missile launcher, which is exactly the same as everyone else's missile launchers, have a multi-melta, and they have a melee attack. What's interesting about these guys is they have a 7-inch range cover bubble, so within 7 inches of it, infantry units gain cover, and they also explode on a 4+. They can be taken in units of 3, and if you do take 3 models, then you add 1 to their hit rolls, so they become hitting on 3+. Oh, I never noticed, but everything is hitting on 4+. Not the Marine, not the characters and the Marines and the Terminators. They're all 3+. So these vehicles are hitting on 4+. And then it is a demon engine, and it doesn't suffer the penalty for firing heavy weapons. And you get -1 to hit it in the fight phase due to its smell. Of course, it's demon, so it has 5+ invuln. So it's decent. See how many points it is. Here's your Chaos Spawn and your Plague Drones. Land Raider. And the Plague Burst Crawler. So I believe the Plague Burst Crawler is that thing with that artillery looking thing. So this thing is heavy support, moves 9 inches at full strength, which degrades, has a 4+ ballistic skill, which degrades, and strength 7. Toughness 8, 12 wounds. So it's almost as hard to kill as a Land Raider, only a 3+ save. So it has the Plague Burst Mortar, which is a 12 to 48 inch range. Okay, so I guess it's 40-inch range, but it has a minimum of 12-inch range. Heavy D6, 8 -2 D3. So it's kind of similar to a Earthshaker battery. And it can target units, of course, that it cannot see, and its plague weapon. You can replace its heavy slugger with the row. No, so it has that, and I think that's the mortar thing on the top of the model. Then it has Plague Spitters, which are Assault D6 9-inch range flamers, heavy flamers, but they're strength 7, they're strength user, which is pretty good. You can replace that with Entropy Cannons, which are 36 range, 8 -4 D6, so 36 range melta weapons basically. So it kind of depends on what you want. Do you want close range, pretty hardcore flaming, or do you want more ranged attacks? And it can replace heavy sluggers with Rothail Volley Gun, which is a heavy 3, 24-inch range, 6 -2 1. So it's a heavy 3 assault cannon basically. So yeah, there's a lot of good firepower on this thing. It is a demon, has disgustingly resilient, has a 5+ invuln save, and it explodes on a 5+. So that's a decent vehicle. I guess we'll see how many points it is. It's a lot harder to kill than a Razorback or a Predator. And it's a little bit easier to kill than a Land Raider. Here's the Defiler. The Predator. And of course, the only difference between a Chaos Predator and a normal Predator is that it can have Havoc launchers, which are of course 48-inch range, heavy D6, strength 5, no AP, 1 damage, and yeah, otherwise it's the same. Doesn't have disgustingly resilient or anything like that. Here's your Chaos Rhino, again same as the normal Rhino, except you can take Havoc launcher on it, which is cool. I guess it depends how much the Havoc launcher is compared to like Combi Bolter. So it can't take Storm Bolters though, but it can take Combi Bolter. And Mortarion. Okay, let's talk about Mortarion. So Mortarion is a Lord of War at 24 points. He is movement of 12 at full strength, but that does degrade, but only to 8. 2+2+ as expected, strength 8, toughness 7, which is the same as Magnus. 18 wounds, which I think is the same as Magnus. People have been comparing him to Magnus, obviously, and yeah. And then he has 6 attacks at full strength, degrades to 4, and he has 10 leadership and a 3+ save, so no 2+ save. People have been a little bit angry about that, but you know, you gotta be pretty special to have a 2+ save, like be a Terminator. But yeah, 3+ save, but I think you'll find it not gonna make a huge difference. So of course he has his big pistol called the Lantern, he has his big scythe called Silence, and he has Phosphex bombs. And he has Nurglings crawling all over him, which can also attack. Okay, so Lantern is an 18-inch pistol, strength 8, -3, 3 damage. So it's like an overcharged, super overcharged plasma gun. And if you hit with this weapon, draw a straight line between the closest point of Mortarion's base and that of the closest model in the target unit. Make a single wound roll against the target unit, and each unit that the center of the line passes over. So it's like a beam weapon, which is pretty cool. All right, then the Nurglings attack, and the Nurglings can make D6 attacks at pretty low strength. Okay, whatever. Maybe I'll do you a wound or two. And then Silence. So Silence is his scythe. It has 2 profiles. It has the kind of anti-horde profile, so he makes 3 attacks for every 1. So he'll be making 18 attacks at full strength with this profile. At strength 8, strength user, -2, 1 damage. So he's gonna kill a lot of weak things. And then he has the eviscerating blow, which of course is like the super blow. Just makes his 6 attacks. So he still has 6 attacks with this, guys. At strength 18, -4, D6 damage. So that's your vehicle killer. Someone has to do the math as to which one's better. 18 attacks at the low profile against the Land Raider versus this eviscerating blow. And then he has Phosphex bombs, which of course are 6-inch grenades, 2d6 and 5 -1 1. So those are some decent grenades he can lob out as well. And he has the lantern, so he's pretty strong. I think he's stronger. He's definitely stronger than Magnus in combat. He has Death to the False Emperor. He has Disgustingly Resilient, and he is the Primarch, so everyone rerolls 1s within 7 inches of him. He has Toxic Presence. Everyone loses 1 from their toughness within 7 inches of him, which can be pretty key. And then he has the Barbaran Plate, 4+ Invuln, of course, and Host of Plagues. Roll a dice. Each enemy unit that is within 7 inches of him at the start of the fight phase. And then he rolls this dice up here. This 4+, 5+, 6+. And if you roll above that, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So he has this mortal wound aura, which is awesome. So overall, Mortarion, super strong. A very good model. And the debate will be out whether he's better than Magnus or not. I guess they're different. He's definitely harder to kill and hits harder than Magnus. But I think Magnus moves faster. No, 12-inch. Yeah, he doesn't. He does fly. Mortarion flies. So it's a close neck and neck match. Okay, so here we go. Here are the weapon profiles. Alright, so Scions of Mortarion. So here are some special rules. If the battle is, if the army is battle forged, then you get this inexorable advance ability. If it's battle forged and Death Guard. So you don't suffer penalty from firing heavy weapons or for advance and firing assault weapons. Unit with this ability can fire twice with rapid fire weapons at a range of 18 inches instead of just half the usual range. Okay. That's pretty good for free. Plague Host. All troop units have... okay, so that's objective secured. That's fine. And here are the Warlord traits. So, discuss Revoltingly Resilient. Add 1 to any disgusting resilient rolls you make for your Warlord, unless the wound is a mortal wound. So that's good. Disgusting Resilient on a 4+, that's pretty good. Living Plague. Roll a dice for each enemy unit that is within 3 inches of your Warlord. At the start of fight phase, on a 4+, they suffer a mortal wound. So it's another kind of one of these mortal wound auras that these guys have. Tainted Regeneration. Your Warlord regains 1 lost wound at the start of each player's turn. Hulking Physique. Add 1 to your toughness. Rotten Constitution. Reduce all damage inflicted on your Warlord by 1. For example, if your Warlord failed. Okay, that's pretty good. And Arch Contaminator. Reroll all failed wound rolls when resolving attacks made with plague weapons for any friendly Death Guard units within 7. Okay, so instead of rerolling 1s, you reroll all failed wounds. That's pretty decent. And Mortarion has that by default. So not only is he a beatstick, he makes all the plague weapons that much better. And Typhus has the Living Plague, which is the mortal wound aura. Decent traits. I'm assuming most people are going to be running Mortarion anyway, so there you go. So here are some stratagems. Let's see now. Okay, so Nurgle's Rot, of course, is 3 CP. This one has been leaked already. You can basically cause your Death Guard character to put out a big 4+ D3 mortal wound aura just once in a battle. That's pretty good. Of course, Mortarion does that every turn, but for 3 CP you could use that, and then you can use your Talisman to get some CP back. Cloud of Flies. So this is a good one. So for 1 CP, this was leaked as well. Death Guard infantry unit cannot be shot at unless it's the closest visible target. Mortarion, I do not believe is a infantry. Let's just check. He's a monster. No. So too bad. Grandfather's Blessings. So that's regaining wounds. Fire Frenzy is for Hellboots. Lets you shoot twice. Putrid Detonation. So for 1 CP, your vehicle will automatically explode, which is great. A lot of these vehicles already explode on 4+, so that's just makes it 100%. Blasphemous Machines. No penalty for moving or firing. So for vehicles, that's pretty good. So again, you get more relics for 1 or 3 CP, just like the Space Marines. The familiar one that lets you reroll, replace a power mid-game with any other power, so same with Space Marines. And Kill Shot, again, is the same thing with Predators. You're getting mortal wound output. So a lot of these are kind of mirrored from the Space Marine Codex, as well as through the other codexes. The Dead Walk again. Use this stratagem at the beginning of your movement phase for Poxwalkers. Replace that unit's Curse of the Poxwalker with each time an infantry model, friend or foe, you add 1 model to this unit. So that's interesting. So not just if your Poxwalkers kill something, but if any unit, any model dies, it gets more models. That's pretty interesting for 1 CP. Plague Pact. 4 dice instead of 3 dice when you summon. Blight Bombardment is for Overwatch. Everyone can use a Blight Grenade instead of just 1. Okay. Veterans of the Long War. Add 1 to all rune rolls. And then it has the Chaos Boon thing, which I believe is basically the same. Except it's Nurgly themed, but it's otherwise it's the same. Okay, Relics of Decay. So the Plague Bringer replaces a knife, a bale sword, or a power sword with strength user, -2 AP, D3 damage, and adds a mortal wound on a 6+. It's okay. Suppurating Plate gives your bearer a 2+ save. Roll a dice each time the model passes a saving throw in the fight phase on a 4+. That unit inflicted that wound suffers a mortal wound. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. And it doesn't say who you can put it on. You can put it on anybody. So there you go. Pandemic Staff for Psychers. Add 1 for Smites. Dolorous Knell. Noxious Blightbringer only. So that's the guy with the bell. Roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 7 inches of the bearer at the start of the morale phase. On a 6, that unit suffers a mortal wound. In addition, if an enemy unit takes a morale test while they are within 7 inches, your opponent must roll 2 dice and discard the lowest. Okay, that's interesting. Fugaris Helm. The wearer of the helm increases the range of aura abilities by 3 inches. Okay. And the Plague Skull of Glothula is basically a 7-inch grenade 1. Only use it once per battle, so it's like the Holy Hand Grenade. If it hits, roll 1 dice for each model in the enemy unit. Re-rolling any 1s, that unit suffers a mortal wound for each 6. Okay. I guess that's good. On a big unit of 50 conscripts, you're going to be rolling 50 dice and you might kill a lot of conscripts re-rolling ones. So I guess it has its uses. Alright, so here's the new psychic powers for the Death Guard. Miasma of Pestilence we already know. That's the one that gives you -1 to hit. Gift of Contagion is Warp Charge 7. Select enemy unit within 18 inches and roll d3. Consult the table below to see what penalty they suffer until the next psychic phase. So -1 attack, -1 strength, or -1 toughness. Okay, that's alright. Plague Wind is 18 inches. Enemy model suffers mortal wound on a 6 for each model. That's pretty good. Blades of Putrefaction. Warp charge value of 5 manifested. Select the Death Guard unit within 18 inches Add 1 to all wound rolls made by that unit in the fight phase. Any wound rolls of 7 plus do a mortal wound. Okay. Putrescent Vitality. Death Guard infantry unit within 18 inches adds 1 to strength and toughness. And Curse of the Leper. Warp Charge 7. Roll 7 dice. Closest visible enemy unit suffers mortal wounds for each roll that exceeds its toughness characteristic. Okay, so up to 7 mortal wounds. Okay, that's not bad. So if I'm taking 3, I would probably take the Miasma. I would take the Plague Wind. And, you know, I'd probably take this Vitality one. Yeah, that's probably what I would take if I've taken 3 powers. And points. All right, let me grab some of the points values here from the index. Do some comparison. So the Biologous Putrefier is that guy with all the Hyper Blight grenades. He's 74. Blight Lord Terminators are 38, which okay. I mean, a normal Chaos Terminator was 31, so it's a little bit more for that extra toughness and the resilience. Cultists are the same, obviously. No, Cultists went down to 4 points from 5 points. So I'd expect those cultists to go down in other codexes. Chaos Codexes, of course, is the first Chaos Codex other than the Space Marine one. Cultists went down to 4. Land Raiders, blah, 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 blah. Demon Prince of Nurgle 146. Demon Prince 146. Demon Prince with Wings 170. And there's no Demon Prince with Wings here, so you get free wings. How about that? That's a 30-point discount. Dress Shop Terminators are 50 each, which is, I think that makes them not really worth it. Because if you're guarding Mortarion anyway, he's already good enough. So the Defiler 152, that is a significant decrease from the index. So the index is 216 and now it's 152. Bloat drones are 99, same as they were in the index. Foul Blight Spawn 77, and Hellboot 72. Lord of Contagion 120, which is down from 139. Malignant Plate Caster 110. Mephitic Blight Haulers are 85, so those are the fast attack ones. That's not bad. That's probably the same cost as a speeder. It's much harder to kill than a speeder. Noxious Blightbringer 63, down from 73. Plague Greens are 19, down from 21, so Plague Greens got cheaper. The Plague Surgeon, the weird apothecary, is 59. The Plague Burst Crawler is 110. That's the mortar thing. 110. That's pretty good. And then you have to add on the cost of weapons, obviously, which we'll see in a second. But that kind of takes it into... We'll see how that relates to a Predator. Poxwalkers are 6. Same price. Sorcerer 90. And the Talaman is 60 points. So it's a pretty cheap HQ. So weapons wise, let's see. Battle Spurts are 5. Blight Grenades are free. Blight Launchers are 14, which are same as before. Entropy Cannon is 20. That was basically the Heavy 3 version of the Twin Assault Cannon. So it's probably a little bit pricey. Havoc Launchers are 11, which they were before. Heavy Blight Launchers 35. Hyper Blight Grenades are free. Injector Pistol, blah, blah, blah. Plague Burst Mortar is free. Plague Spewer, Plague Spitter, 17. So those are all pretty consistent with other heavy flamer type weapons. Okay. Bale Swords are 6. Bubonic Axes are 5, so similar to other power weapons. The Cursed Bell is free. Flail of Corruption is 10. That's decent for that weapon. The Flesh Mower is 12. Let's see, what else can we look at here? Man Reapers are 17. I guess that's okay. Plague Sword is 1. Just 1 for a Plague Sword. So you add the Icon of Despair to your unit, and it is 10 points. It's not free anymore. And your Icon is 15 points. And Mortarion is 470. Let's see how much Magnus was. I believe Magnus is cheaper than that. Magnus the Red, 415. So he is 60 points more than Magnus. He is stronger and harder to kill. And he does buff wound rolls for everyone around him. So I think that's probably fair. Typhus is 175. He used to be 164. So Typhus went up. Fairly or not, I'm not sure. I'm not really played against Typhus. I played against him once and he was not that hard to kill. And then let's see, Nurglings 18. Where is it? Over here. I guess he's in the demon area. So Nurglings 18. So Nurglings went down by 2. Plague Bears 7. Plague Bears went down by 1. And Plague Drones 34. They went down by 10. So the demons all went down as expected. And that's it. Some tactical objectives. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this read-through of the Death Guard Codex. I think the Death Guard are pretty strong. I think we're talking Mortarion, obviously, and then a bunch of Poxwalkers for troops just to take up space and to hold objectives, all buffed by a Surgeon and Typhus and regenerating things. And then I think you take a bunch of drones, because drones are still good and fast, and then you take some of those artillery mortar pieces at the back, and I think you got an army. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Good luck to those for the YouTube subscribers giveaway, and we'll be back in read along next week with the AdMech Codex.